Hi, I'm Zsuzsa Fritz, and I'm a Jewish educator and a community worker, and I'm going to talk about Parshat Pinchas. Well, when leaving last week's parasha, we are stunned. We are left with this horrifying picture seen from a horror movie and a kind of cliffhanger also. I mean, yes, the plague was stopped after this Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel. And Pinchas, the priest, saw this and he left the assembly and took a spear in his hand and followed the Israelite into the tent. And he drove the spear into both of them, right through the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Yes, the plague was stopped. But that is it. I mean, Pinchas did the right thing. That is what you should do if you see something like that. As someone passionate about bibliodrama, my attitude to the text of the Torah usually is something like, okay, but what do I feel now? If I'm Pinchas, how am I currently? And if I'm one of the Jews? I mean, just recently we were so proud. Balaam could not curse us. He saw how beautiful our tents were, like how great are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. Great. And then this. So we arrived to this week's parasha, which lo and behold gets the name Pinchas, and we are eagerly waiting for the continuation. And the Lord said to Moses, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, he turned my anger away from the Israelites. Since he was as zealous for my honor among them as I am, I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore tell him, I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of a lasting priesthood because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for the Israelites. So our eagerly waited answer to what is going to happen now is that God gives Pinchas the covenant of peace. At first we could think, oh yeah, he received a prize, an award. God is really happy about what he did. But then, is he really? In the previous verse, we hear a word coming back 3 times, kina, zeal or passion. And if there is such a repetition, we should be suspicious. There must be a reason. According to some commentators, the reason is that God was actually not that happy. Pinchas took justice in his hands out of an inner burning anger, which was justified, yes, but at the same time, it was a very dangerous precedence. So dangerous was this zeal, this kina, it was seriously exaggerated, even that he did this for God. But then, what if everybody does it and does it in God's name? So when God gives him the covenant of peace, Brit Shalom, he doesn't really give him an award, but gives him kind of like a coaching session. He tells Pinchas, relax, calm down. Peace, Pinchas, peace. Thank you for what you did, but be at peace and lead in peace. Stop burning from inside. Find this eternal peace in yourself and outside. And that is what a covenant of peace with eternal priesthood should mean. And I also chose a few verses from the end of the parasha because Moses teaches us something very, very significant. Then the Lord said to Moses, go up this mountain in the Abarim range and see the land I have given the Israelites. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, as your brother Aaron was, for when the community rebelled at the waters in the desert of Zin, both of you disobeyed my command to honor me as holy before their eyes. I don't know if you remember this episode from a previous parasha, very disturbing, both for me and for some of the rabbis who tried to understand Moses' sin. How can he, the leader of the children of Israel, who led his people through so many trials and tribulations, argued, fought, struggled with and because of them, how can he get such a severe punishment that he's not allowed to enter the promised land? Isn't that outrageous? I mean, we get it. He hit the rock instead of speaking to it, but still. But the other question that comes to mind in relation to this is, how does he feel about it? Isn't he extremely upset, angry, sad, devastated? Well, we don't hear anything about it, or don't we? Moses suggests to God that he chose his successor. Now let's listen to what he says. Moses said to the Lord, "May the Lord, the God who gives breath to all living things, appoint someone over this community to go out and come in before them, one who will lead them out and bring them in, so the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd." To go out and come in before them, one who will lead them out and bring them in. There. You can spot the bitterness if you want. Tiny and very soft, an understanding and probably exhausted Moshe telling God that the next person should also be the one who leads them in, because he cannot. But he's still the noblest leader we have ever known, and that we can see in how he does succession. When God tells him, "Take Yehoshua, son of Nun, a man in whom is the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and the entire assembly and commission him in their presence. Give him some of your authority so the whole Israelite community will obey him." What does Moshe do? Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Yehoshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole assembly. Then he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord instructed through Moses. So he does exactly what God tells him to do, but not because God tells him to lay his hand on him, and he lays his hands on him, meaning he really wants all the wisdom and all the knowledge that he gathered, that he got on the way. He wants to pour that into Yehoshua so that he can be even a better leader, maybe, if it's possible, than him. He's a very generous leader who knows how to create a successor that will succeed. And I want to finish with a poem by Yehuda Amichai. Moses, our teacher, only saw the face of God and forgot. He did not want to see the wilderness, not even the promised land, but only the face of God. He struck the rock in the fury of his longings. He went up and down Mount Sinai. He shattered the 2 tablets of the covenant and made a golden calf. He searched in fire and cloud, but he remembered only the strong hand of God and his outstretched arm, not his face. And he was like someone who wants to remember the face of a loved one, but cannot. He made himself a police sketch from the face of God and from the burning bush and from the face of Pharaoh's daughter who leaned over him when he was an infant in the basket. And he distributed the picture to all the tribes of Israel and throughout the wilderness. But no one had seen and no one recognized. And only at the end of his life on Mount Nebo did he see and die with a kiss from God's face. Shabbat Shalom.